My wife accused me of cheating, but she's not mad at me over that. Apparently I didn't react the way she wanted me to, so now she's admitting that she's going to defame me and ruin my life for funsies. Posted by u/OK_cartoonist5220. My wife Grace, 42F, and I, 44M, have been married for 13 years, together for 16. I met Grace around the time I got out of the military. It was a medical discharge, and I met her while I was in the hospital for surgery. She was a nurse on the floor where I was staying. Grace was a single mom, divorced for a couple of years. After leaving the military, I went back to school and now work from home as a software engineer. We started dating and took it slow for the first 2 years because of her daughter, Maya, who was 5 at the time. Grace is still a nurse, and Maya is in college now. Up until last month, I would have said our marriage was solid. We had arguments, and I admit I was bad at housekeeping when we first moved in because I wasn't used to kids making a mess. But overall, it was good. No issues with being a step-parent. I had an active role in Maya's life since her father lives overseas for work. We went on dates, and our intimacy was always great. We wanted kids, but it wasn't in the cards. Honestly, I'm blindsided by all of this. I've had friends who were blindsided by divorce, but I never understood how. Usually, there were problems they overlooked, and then suddenly their wives left. They didn't see it coming, but the rest of us could. Now, here I am saying the same thing, and maybe I missed something huge. In the past few months, Grace has been more stressed than usual. Ever since COVID, she's been burned out. I asked her several times if she wanted to quit her job, at least for a couple of years. I thought her burnout was getting worse. She was withdrawn and angry. She snapped at me all the time and ridiculed Maya for everything. But she's my wife, and she went through a lot during the pandemic. Both Maya and I were understanding. We could make it on my salary, so last month I suggested again that she quit and take time to heal. Then everything blew up. She started yelling, saying she knew what I was doing and had proof. At first, I didn't know what she meant, but I quickly realized she was accusing me of cheating. I was angry. I gave her my phone and told her to go through it. I unlocked my laptop and told her to check that too. I opened every app I could think of, no hidden social media, no messages from anyone. But she wouldn't look at any of it. She got angrier and ended up throwing my laptop. That's when I had enough and left. I went to my parents' house. The whole time, Grace was texting and calling, leaving messages about some woman she thought I was with. When I got to my parents, I called her once and told her I needed a few days because I was too angry to talk. The next morning, my sister called and said Grace had been calling her too, trying to see if I was really there. A few days later, I called Grace. At first, it went well. She apologized for throwing the laptop, but said I made her angry by staying calm. I explained that I was furious but tried to talk it out instead of yelling. Then she got upset, saying I was twisting her words, and things fell apart again. She kept accusing me of cheating and said she had proof. I asked to see it, but she wouldn't say what it was. At one point, she said she'd send everything to a lawyer. I told her to send it to mine too, because this was going nowhere. She got quiet and asked if I was serious. I told her I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where she thought I cheated but wouldn't tell me why. After that, we ended the call, and I've been staying at my parents' house since. My dad is on my side. My mom thinks Grace is just having a hard time and that we can work it out. My sister is mad she got dragged into it, and Maya is miserable, caught between me and her mom. I feel like maybe I acted too quickly and should have stayed calmer. Edit, my morning meetings are over, so I'm going to log out for the day. I'm going to talk to my mom and see if she'll suggest therapy or couples counseling to Grace. Something is going on, but I don't know if it's something I did or just stress in her life. I'll also assure Maya that she has a place here, no matter what. She's my daughter, and of course, she's welcome if she needs to stay here. Second edit, I took a break and came back to read some comments, but there are too many. There's an overall theme, though, so I'll try to respond. Someone asked if I was cheating. No, I'm not. I love my wife and never wanted to cheat. I've been attracted to people, sure. I think Salma Hayek is gorgeous, but the thought of cheating has never crossed my mind. A lot of people think Grace is cheating. I don't think so. She's home every night at the same time and doesn't hide her devices. Could there be someone at work? Maybe. Do I think she's cheating? No. But as some pointed out, those are famous last words. Talking about divorce and staying calm, I have PTSD. I've done a lot of therapy to manage my emotions. I stay calm not because I feel calm, but because if I don't, I'll get overwhelmed. When I said, talk to my lawyer, I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think it's a good idea to divorce after over a decade together just because of the last month. But for my own mental health, I'm staying at my parents' house until we can resolve this. Could it be hormones? Maybe. Grace already takes hormones because of a medical procedure she had in her early 30s. She sees the doctor every 6 months to check her levels. Her last appointment was in March, but her mood changed before that. Mental health issues? That's what I think is happening. Grace has been burning out for a while. Her mood swing started a while ago, which is why I suggested she take time off work. I brought it up again last month when she blew up at me. I think it's stress, which is why I haven't contacted a lawyer. I want to save our marriage. I think I just need reassurance from someone neutral because I'm in over my head. Some people say not to get my mom involved. My mom is already involved. She and Grace are really close, and she calls Grace every day to check on her. Grace doesn't talk to her own family, so I'm not dragging my mom into this. I'm just asking her to suggest marriage counseling next time they talk. I definitely don't want to get any more people involved, so I won't ask a friend to talk to Grace. I haven't gone no contact with Grace since I left. She still messages me, sometimes it's silly stuff like memes, and other times she's begging me to tell her the truth. I'm exhausted mentally, and I feel like I'm at the end of my rope. I've suggested therapy a couple of times, but it's gone nowhere. Maybe if my mom brings it up, Grace will consider it. That's everything, I think. But please don't bash my wife. I'm upset because Grace is a great woman. She's smart, funny, and sweet. She's been a wonderful mother, which is why I've been so worried. This behavior is so out of character for her. Additional info. Yes, I would love to tell you why she thinks I'm cheating, but she won't tell me. Is it because I'm on my computer too much? Or I use my phone in a weird way? Maybe I take phone calls at odd hours? I don't know, because she won't say. That's the worst part of all this. If I knew, I could figure out what needs to change. Maybe I haven't been intimate enough. Maybe I haven't set up enough dates. Maybe she feels like I'm distant. But I don't know. And I want to know. I love my wife. I've loved her since our second date, and I knew I wanted to marry her by the end of the first month. This isn't some small argument over dishes or her watching a show without me. She's accusing me of cheating, and I don't even know why. I can't fix what I don't understand. If you can figure out her side of the story, please tell me, because I'd like to know too. Update 1 week later. No, my wife is not cheating on me. As far as I know, she's not sick, doesn't have a tumor, or showing signs of early dementia. If she was, that would actually be easier to deal with. Maybe it's perimenopause or menopause, I don't know. I don't care. Yes, I will be getting a divorce. No, I won't go into more detail. I've already talked to a lawyer. Maya is staying with me and my parents right now. I'll be looking for an apartment or condo soon because I feel like I've been here too long. Maya is thinking of taking time off to visit her dad, and I can't blame her for that. I'm a mess. I don't even know why I logged back into this account, other than to say that no, my wife really wasn't cheating on me. Honestly, I wish she had been. It'd be easier to handle than whatever this is. Thanks for the advice and the concern. Update 2, 5 days later. I hope this is the right place to vent or get advice. My friend suggested it, so I'll share my situation. I'm not sure what details are important, but I'll write everything I can think of. I've been married to my wife Grace for 13 years, and we've been together for 16. When we first started dating, she told me she had low or no contact with her family. There was obvious trauma related to it, and as someone with PTSD, I understood that she might not be ready to share. My family loved her, so I was happy to share my life with her. Before I proposed, she finally told me more about her family. Grace comes from a deeply fundamentalist Christian family. There were many issues, like marrying young and some really difficult experiences. She got married at 16 to the son of family friends, who was 19. In a way, she was lucky because her ex-husband moved her across the state and away from her family. She was able to finish school and start college. From what I gather, he also wanted to leave the cult. Grace had their daughter, Maya, when she was 21, and her ex was finishing his last year of school. Once he graduated, he went to grad school in Europe, and she moved back home to her family. They divorced soon after. After the divorce, Grace's family tried to marry her off to a man who was over twice her age. That was her cue to finally leave. She hinted that the exit was not easy and involved a lot of violence. She mentioned SA and attempted kidnapping from the older man. Eventually, she escaped with her daughter, moved in with a distant aunt, and cut off most of her family. A few years later, she met me, and that was our happy ending, until this year. In the past few months, my wife has been very snappy and withdrawn. At first, I thought she was just burnt out from being a nurse during the pandemic. She was working long hours without breaks, and I suggested she take some time off. The last time I suggested it, she blew up at me, accusing me of cheating. It led to an intense fight. She claimed she had proof, and when I wanted to see it, she threw my laptop, and I left. We had another fight over the phone where she said she would send the proof of my infidelity to a lawyer, and I told her to pass it on to mine. After that, we mostly communicated via text, with her sending me updates from work or silly memes. Occasionally, she would plead with me to tell her the truth about cheating, but I had no idea what she was talking about. For weeks, I waited to see what proof she had or for her to talk to me more than just a few memes. Living with my parents has been stressful. I thought I would never find out what was going on until a few days ago when she showed up at my parents' house to talk. Finally, she told me the proof of my cheating. A coworker had told her that they saw me with another, much younger woman. I thought I could handle that. I asked follow-up questions about what the woman looked like and where this happened. I quickly realized she was talking about Maya. We sometimes go to the hospital to eat lunch with her, and that must have been where her coworker saw us together. I thought it was a simple mistake, but my wife knew that her coworker was describing Maya and was suggesting that I was cheating on her with the child I helped raise and who calls me dad. I tried not to get angry because I know she has a lot of trauma from older men being with younger women, especially after what her parents tried to force her to do. But at the same time, I felt disgusted and betrayed that she'd ever think I'd do that. The conversation turned into another argument. During that argument, she admitted it wasn't just any coworker, the coworker is her first cousin, Shalia, who is still in the church. It all started tumbling out that she's been hanging out with Shalia during downtime. She's been calling and talking to her dad. He is the one who tried to marry her off to a man older than I am now. She's been going to church meetings again when I thought she was at work. You know what? None of the church stuff would be a problem. If she wants to be Christian, whatever. Except everything she's saying contradicts what she said before. First, she says I am in my prime years for children. I'm 44, and I'm past my prime for kids. Maya is 21, and I'm happy to have her living at home, but I'm also glad she can clean her own bathroom. Because my dad is secular Jewish, he's evil, and that evil is passed down to me. My mom is even more evil because she was Christian. She never really was, her family was lapsed Catholic. I'm not sure she's ever even been to Mass. My mom turned her back on the church and didn't raise me Christian, which is evil. My mom, a woman who loves my wife more than she loves me, is now a sinner and deceitful according to my wife. But more than all that, the part that makes me sickest and pushed me to actually call a lawyer was when she suggested our daughter, a brilliant kid who loves her mom so much, is to blame because she's young and flaunting herself. It's all jumbled up in my brain. There was so much more. She went on for what felt like hours before I asked her to leave. I wasn't a good provider because she had to work. I reminded her that I suggested she take time off from work, but evidently, that was proof I was just trying to isolate her from her family. There were so many crazy tangents and conspiracies. Like suggesting she get therapy, which I've been doing since before the pandemic, but especially after the pandemic, was me trying to brainwash her into being okay with me having an affair with Maya. I don't understand any of it. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know how to even start. That evening, after my wife left, Maya called crying because her mom was saying some really awful things to her. So I told Maya to come stay with my parents and me, and that just added fuel to the fire. Now Grace thinks we're living together. I called a lawyer, and I think my marriage is over. I don't know what to do. I don't know where the fundamentalist ideas start and where the conspiracy ends. I don't even know how I can fix things. I can't believe I missed how things fell apart to this extent. Update 3, 4 days later. I saw my wife earlier today. I wanted to sit down and talk about what divorce would look like for us. We have over a decade of finances, our home, and our lives intertwined. I've been paying for Maya's school. Her job provides most of our insurance coverage. I put the down payment on our house, but she has paid off just as much of it as I have. We will have lawyers handle everything, but I just wanted to look at her and make her see what she was doing. Divorce isn't just a word, it's a real, concrete thing. The lives we have been living are over as we know them. We're not old. It's not like we can't move on, but I've been her husband for so long that I don't know who I am without her. When I got home, I started drinking and I haven't stopped all evening. Which is really stupid. Don't do what I did. I just couldn't stop. I kept seeing her sitting across from me, refusing to look at me. I don't know her anymore, and I'm not sure if I ever did. My therapist talks about masking because of my PTSD and ADHD. I mask a lot with coworkers or clients, but I never had to mask at home. Now I'm wondering if this entire marriage was her masking her true feelings. Was she miserable the whole time? Did she pick me because I was stable and a good dad figure to Maya? I'm not ugly, but I'm not handsome either. Our love life was good, but was it? Was she just doing it because she learned to please her husband as a child? I feel sick. I feel like I hurt her because I don't know how much was her and how much was the programming from that church. And Maya, oh God, Maya is just not great. She's trying so hard to be strong, but she's my baby girl. I taught her how to fish, and she's better at it than I am. She taught me how to knit when I was struggling during the pandemic. She's such an amazing kid and she's hurting, and I hate Grace for that. I hate her for hurting our child. But I love her, and that hurts too. I don't know what the point of this is. I came back to read about theories on cheating or menopause. I thought what we had was fixable. I thought if I worked at it, we could change things. And now it's just over. It's so final. Let this be a lesson, sometimes things just end, and there is nothing we can do about it. Update 4, 2 weeks later. I planned to update last night before bed, but I fell asleep early. So, here's a quick update before coffee and work. First, I met with a lawyer last week. She said it will take about 10 to 20 business days before my ex-wife is properly served. After that, it could take a couple of months or over a year to untangle our finances. I'm no longer in contact with my ex, and neither is Maya. She has texted me a few times, sometimes accusing me of not being a good husband, and sometimes sending cute cat pictures. I see the person I married in those messages, but for the most part, she seems gone. I've gotten a few different messages, and since I'm not great at replying to strangers, I'll address this here. No, I'm not going to have my ex-wife committed. I know her version of Christianity is cult-like. It demands obedience and punishes anyone who steps outside that. She has religious trauma, but she's an adult and not psychotic, as one person put it. If she ever gets proper help, she might move on from the trauma, but no one can force her to do that. I tried for years to convince her to go to therapy. I'm not abusing alcohol or becoming an alcoholic. I got drunk one night, and I don't recommend it. I haven't really done that since my early 20s, and it was uncomfortable. I forgot how awful it feels to be numb yet intensely aware. Don't worry, I'm not going to fall into an addict's abyss. If anything, it reminded me why I only drink a beer or two at a barbecue. I also realized I'm in my 40s now, and hangovers are much worse. I can't get custody of Maya because she's an adult. I pay for her college and will continue to do so. She's my little girl, no matter how old she gets, and she'll always have a home with me. Maya has put a pause on school this semester. She's going to stay with her father for a month, travel around Europe for another month, and hopefully be back before Thanksgiving, no later than Christmas. She might stay a second month with him. I'm worried about her traveling alone in Europe. I know people do it, but she is my child, and that makes me anxious. I still haven't found a place. I looked at rentals, but my parents reminded me it might be better to buy if I can find something small enough. Right now, I'm looking at various condos in my price range. A condo feels more manageable than a house. Depending on where I am in the divorce when I find something, my parents will front the costs, and I can pay them back over the next year or two. The shocking update is from our mutual friends. I found out from a few of them that my ex cut them off or told them we didn't want their friendships. Since my ex and I were always together, they didn't think to ask me if that was true. Or maybe I was so caught up in my own issues that I didn't notice they had stopped coming around or left group chats. I need to take more responsibility there. I wasn't paying attention to anything but my ex. I didn't notice how stressed Maya was. I knew she was tense, but I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. I also didn't notice our friends slowly disappearing or changes in my own behavior. That's the insidious part. We were circling the drain back in January, but I clung to the hope that if I got my ex some help, things would fix themselves. Now, Maya is so stressed she doesn't want to go back to school. My work has suffered, but, thankfully, my boss has been understanding. I need to repair my friendships, but I don't know where to start to regain their trust. That's it. Everything feels like it's moving at a snail's pace, and I just want it to be over. Yet, everything feels like it's rushing by, turning my life upside down. I know it will eventually even itself out. Things will get better, or at the very least, I'll no longer feel stuck in a tumble dryer with sneakers. Additional information from OOP. I started a comment, and I wrote an entire thing out of anger, but I'm too tired to deal with this. I can't have my ex committed. That's not how involuntary commitment works. It's not how state laws work. It's not how reality works. Stop messaging me that I'm a bad husband because I'm not calling the cops on her or getting the courts involved. If anything, I would just be harassing her. She's lucid, she's eating, and she's not on drugs. She's not going to harm herself. She goes to work, gets coffee, and pays bills out of our joint account. She's not delusional. I can tell when she talks to me that she doesn't really believe any of this. She repeats talking points her dad, cousin, or the church give her. Sometimes being miserable with trauma is easier than the hard work it takes to confront it. At some point, I can't do any more for her. For years, I've suggested therapy. Not just because of her past. There were many reasons, but the biggest is that sometimes it helps to talk to someone. Even if it's about dropping groceries in front of the house and feeling overwhelmed after a bad day. We were lucky. We had access to help. Not everyone does. We had the money. Not everyone does. We had the ability and the time, and not everyone does. At some point, it's her responsibility to get help. If I honestly thought she was delusional, this wouldn't hurt so much. I remember being lost in thoughts and a reality that never existed. But she's not. She's always chosen not to get help. Side note, I don't really care about my stuff being up on Facebook or TikTok or whatever, but if there's anything anyone can learn from this, it's that trauma doesn't go away just because you want it to. If you have access to help, get help. You can only power through so much before it catches up. Relevant comments. Commenter, I'm curious about the she is not delusional part. Did she not fully believe that you cheated? Your post made it sound like that. Oop, I think during the initial fight, when she accused me and claimed she had proof, she truly believed it. I don't have proof, but I suspect her family might have told her they had stronger evidence than just they saw me with her. It felt like a way to get under her skin and drive us apart. Since that first fight where everything blew up, I believe reality has started to set in. I think she realized the accusation was empty, but this is when her trauma really pushed her to double down. On the night of the big fight, she was so certain that even I wondered what I had done to make her think I was cheating. I reflected on everything in my life. Thanks to another Redditor, I looked up scams about cheating spouses and getting money for proof. I thought that's where this was headed. But after the truth came out, it felt different. She seemed to push the accusation half-heartedly. There wasn't the same conviction as on the night she exploded at me. I'm not sure how to describe it better. It's like her heart isn't really in the accusation. She doesn't fully believe it, but she's holding on to it because that's what her family is saying. So, I think this is more of a trauma response than an actual delusion. Papers served, September 13th. The divorce papers have been served this past Wednesday. Grace didn't take it well. There were several angry phone calls that I ignored and one that I finally took. She accused me of turning Maya against her. As if calling her own daughter a bad person wasn't enough on its own. We went over the whole cheating thing again. She waved it off. Evidently, to her, the accusation wasn't serious. I should have forgiven her mistake, but instead, I abandoned her. I guess, in some ways, that is true. I left. But I don't know what she wanted. I don't know what she thought would happen. I still don't understand the endgame here. Her family's goals, sure. They wanted to split us up, and they succeeded beautifully. But what did she think was going to happen? She said I wasn't a real man. A real man wouldn't have let her work, I guess. Once again, I pointed out that I told her multiple times she could quit her job, but that fell on deaf ears. She made it clear she would fight me on every bit of this divorce, so there goes any hope for something as simple and clean as possible. She's told me she is already looking for other men to replace me, but almost in the same breath, she told me that I can't divorce her. Because of her reaction, I have put on hold any thoughts about buying a place. My parents are thinking of buying a cabin near a lake. If they do that, then I can eventually buy their current home. But until then, I will be looking for an apartment. I need the space. I can't keep tripping over them. I love them to death, but they are hovering because they are worried. I just want some quiet and time to myself. Maya left for her dad's. She arrived last Monday, and we have FaceTimed twice already. She's enjoying the time away from her mom and the drama. I told her to enjoy herself and that things are fine here, but I think she's worried about me too, so we set up Sunday nights to be our weekly Skype call. Some of my friends have been bugging me to go out or start a dating profile. Others have been making me random food items, like jams, sugar cream pies, and casseroles. I appreciate the food a lot. I've probably gained 5 pounds just from the jams alone. My friend Heather made me homemade apple butter, and frankly, I ate it all in 2 days. It was amazing. I'm staying away from dating. I'll try to stay away from the apple butter as well. Relevant comment. I don't really have any words of encouragement or anything that could make it better other than I'm sorry you and Maya are going through this. I know that it takes a real man to take on someone else's child and raise them like their own. So take what your soon-to-be ex says with a grain of salt. Hurt people hurt people. Your ex has a lot to unpack and clearly isn't willing to put in the work to get better. That's not on you. It's almost like she has some sort of syndrome. She keeps going back to her dad, who has victimized her over and over. If she's not willing to go to therapy, there's nothing you can do. Hopefully, one day she sees the dysfunction and gets help. Unfortunately, that may not happen before the loss of her marriage and relationship with her daughter. I really hope things start to look better for you and Maya. Update 5, 3 days later. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I are going through an acrimonious divorce. I had divorce papers served this past week, and she didn't take it well. After a really angry phone call from her, I thought that was that. However, I got an email from my boss this evening about some concerns he had. Quick history, I didn't have Facebook, but my wife did. She was the more social of the two of us and kept up with group chats and whatnot through various social media. I knew that some of my coworkers and their spouses had become friends with her online because sometimes we all went out to dinners, and that's how we set up group dates. I never really thought about it until the email from my boss. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. I'm just not sure what I need to include. Before I left my wife, she accused me of cheating, which I had not done. Then, she accused me of sleeping with her daughter, who I raised since childhood. She's my daughter too, as far as I'm concerned. That was the last straw, and I filed for divorce. My ex announced our divorce in a Facebook post, claiming that she left me because I abused her and our daughter, and that my daughter has left the country because she's so ashamed. From what I gather, my coworker's wife saw it. She told him, he told my boss, and my boss told me. There have to be steps I can take, but I have no idea what they are. My boss, thankfully, knows me and knows it's not true. But I have no idea how this is going to impact my job or what my coworkers think or what their spouses think. It's just one bad moment after another, and I don't know what to do. I made a Facebook account and reported the post, but I have no idea if that's going to go anywhere. I've emailed my attorney, but it's Sunday, so I won't hear back until at least tomorrow, but possibly not for a couple of days. Is there anything else I can do?